This month, as you know, the topic is anxiety. So we have Tamar Lucien here, and let's give her a round of applause real quick.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much. So let's just get right into it. You currently have a company called MentalHappy.
Yes.
And it's my understanding that that came out of certain struggles that you had. Can you tell us a little bit about that so we have a background?
Yeah, sure. When I started MentalHappy, it was actually just a total accident in a lot of ways. I was, going through a lot. My first my first business was like totally failing. And as entrepreneurs, we have this intense desire to succeed, right? As most people do in life. And when you're working on something and you're passionate about it, failure is one of those things that's not taught in school. So I didn't handle that well. And just a lot of things were happening. Like I had a long-term relationship that also imploded at the same time. So really just dealing with the emotional pain of that. And just really started kind of playing around with some concepts to really cope and heal and get through a lot of the things I was going through. And putting together our first product that we have for MentalHappy was kind of one of those accidents. So it really just kind of came about truly in just one of the darkest moments of my life, honestly.
And do you feel that if you didn't have, because obviously good came out of the bad, do you feel that if those things did not happen and those feelings of, maybe not getting the success that you were hoping for, the anxiety of, well, how am I going to get out of this? Do you feel that if that never happened, MentalHappy would never have existed?
No, I can't. I think about that often. Like, how else would it have come about? And I can't see it would have come about any other way. It was very painful, but I'm glad something good came out of it. But I don't know any other way.
And you said the first product, is that the boxes?
Yeah, so that's the cheer box. Yep.
Cheer box.
Mm-hmm.
So what is a cheer box?
So a cheer box is what we call an intentional gift for someone who's going through a life's hardship. And at the time, there wasn't really anything to help me that I could figure out. Like, people are like, oh, I'm sorry for what you're going through, and all these kind of cards and candies and stuff.
And none of it cut it.
None of it really, kind of got to the root.
It was a nice gesture.
It was.
I still have this,
Yeah, so I, in the cheer box, it's really practices of gratitude, how to cope, how to heal, and even people who are going through like physical ailments, tips and resourceful foods and things to help them through their healing journey.
And so are there different things that go in different boxes depending on what they're getting it for?
Yeah, so the MentalHappy as a company now, how we make the Cheerbox product, it's all 100% curated. So whether we get 10 orders that day or we get 100 orders that day, we make every single one of them differently, because what we've just found is human beings are unique and different. And we just want to kind of keep that same touch and care for everything that
that's kind of cool because
it's
extremely personal.
Yeah.
So, and I know that certain companies can come to you, right, for their employees and get these boxes.
So that's been kind of crazy. The amount of businesses that we've been getting, like large corporations that are like, hey, we want to, do this for our population of like 5,000 employees who, may be experiencing something.
And each one of those 5,000 is personally.
Yeah. So
I want to segue, because I don't want to make this all about the boxes, but what was your hope for the impact? So somebody gets this cheer box, they open it, there's a lot of personal things, a lot of things that, help you cope, but what were you hoping? How would you gauge, what are the metrics on, this is really a successful product?
Yeah, so long before it was a product, it was just a hobby. what really was the wake-up call for me was a friend of mine was pregnant at the time, and she was about maybe like 6-7 months pregnant, and she just went missing. Like, we couldn't find her. Like, it was just alarming. And when I finally got to her house and was like, hey, what's happening? What's going on here? And she was like, I did give birth to Christian, but unfortunately, he died shortly after he was born. So hence why she kind of was just ghost for a while. And I've been playing around with the concept of the cheer box and really trying to incorporate like mindful practices and positive psychology in my own life. So I created this care package for her, and that's all it was at the time, was just a care package. Because there was like a lot of flowers in front of her door and cards and stuff like that. And she was like, none of this crap is gonna, can I curse? I'm part of She was like, none of this shit is gonna help me really get through all of this. I curse a lot, so I'm just... so I thought about that, and I was like, okay, well, let me just give her this box of stuff.
So was that literally the first one?
Yeah, it was literally the first one. And she was like, after a couple of weeks, she was like, you know what? When I finally got around to like opening the box that you gave me, today's like the first day I was able to take a shower. And I still kind of say that and get kind of misty, because ever since I was a kid, I've always had like this deep intention of like helping people. Like, I don't know what it is. I feel like I have this obsession that I don't feel like anything in life that happens to you should destroy you. I feel like it's in fact your wake-up call. And it's something that is going to lead you to your next great thing. So anytime that I can do something to capture a human being at their lowest point and not let their lives continue to take a downward spiral. You hear people say things like, I suffered from depression for 6 years because of this, or, I've never recovered after my divorce or something like that. That shouldn't happen, You should be able to say, I'm stronger because of this. And that's the impact I want to make. So the first person to tell me that, I did something that, it doesn't completely cure the person in a day, but it allowed them to take the first step to saying, you know what, my life isn't over after this.
And that was literally your first testimonial.
Yeah.
Have you received any others that were just mind-blowing, and you're like, wow, we are literally like combating, depression and anxiety?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've learned in just studying psychology, positive psychology, is like a third of all illnesses are cured just by thinking positive thoughts and just really reframing your mind on what that illness is, and saying things like, we're very mindful with our customers, and we teach them to say things like, I'm healing anxiety. Like, I even say, like, I'm healing my anxiety, because I still do have it. I heal my anxiety for as long as it takes. So to hear people say things like, I was a negative Nelly the entire time in my chemo treatment. And I was able to, just by really doing the affirmations, really practicing the gratitude jar or the, journaling or anything like that, I was able to, I was starting to speed up my healing process. Like, we got that one story where one person was like, they didn't need their last treatment. Just because they were just kind of going through the treatment a lot quicker than they were before practicing those things. Someone could say, oh, it's just a sheer coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences. I think everything happens for a reason.
And that brings up a good point. So, usually, as humans, when we see somebody who we feel they're doing great, my business is failing, but their business is doing good. I've been training all my life and running, but that person's going to the Olympics or what have you. We tend to forget that even those people have feelings of anxiety.
Yeah, for sure.
So, despite the fact that we have these perceptions, because I think almost even having that perspective is almost negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're being negative toward your own talents and how you can get around it. So, any thoughts on that as far as how we project this almost unreal, I'm the only one kind of going through this?
Oh,
Is that,
yeah.
I mean, a show of hands. Anybody, when you're feeling anxiety, do you feel like you're the only one? Show of hands. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that? Like, how do we get past that? Because sometimes that is what stops you dead in your tracks.
Yeah, we say, as human beings, we say the craziest things to ourselves in our mind. And that was one of the things that I learned that I had such a bad habit with, is just the things I don't need to say to myself, like, you're going to be fine. Like, I read a study that said, almost no one looks at themselves in the mirror and says, I love you. And when you try it for the very first time,
it feels weird.
It's an uncomfortable feeling. Yeah, it's a really, really uncomfortable feeling. And we have this recorder of things we believe, and even little things like, I hate my hair today, or I'm just not gonna make it today. Just little things that we think are just minor conversations, little jargons. Your subconscious is always listening to that. It's always on. So
how do you make a conscious effort to notice those things and reverse them to a positive? Because you have your blinders on. You don't know that you're doing these things necessarily.
Yeah, I make a daily habit of it. I actually plan time for it. The best time for me is in the mornings, because I'm not a morning person.
So you meditate, or?
I do meditate, and I journal every day in my notebook. I call it my notebook of positive aspects. So I'll usually just pick one singular topic, and I'll write a better narrative, and it literally, like, at the top of the page, a better narrative tomorrow, okay? So, and I tell myself this better story of whatever it is I'm experiencing.
Of what's happened before, or of what you anticipate is happening that day?
I try to stay as present moment as possible. So the thing about anxiety is that you're sometimes way too far out in the future, and that's why you're anxious. Stuff that you're making up, it's a monster that doesn't exist, it's a catastrophic event that will never happen in this galaxy or any other galaxy out there, but you've believed and told yourself that it will happen. So when I do the journaling, it's as present as I can be.
As present and as positive.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And that almost feels like a much better ritual than what we all tend to do these days. Grab that phone and go, okay, let's my fear of missing out, and then literally, I feel like that starts that day off on a bad foot.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, to each his own habits, but the whole checking Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and emails, for me, it steals my sovereignty, because you're immediately hit with everybody's highlights and their great moments in life, and it may not necessarily be the truth. Or you don't necessarily need to see that first thing in the morning,
And again, even if it is the truth, you're going,
yeah,
I'm not as successful as they are.
Or
I'm
I'm not in Cabo, like I have to go to work today, but but I mean, everybody has their own walk and their own path, and I've seen the success in my life change when I just say, okay, I don't check emails come hell or high water before 10 a.m. Whatever I have to do, whatever customer, whatever the issue is, like, just that sovereignty of the morning and preparing for my day mentally is just really important.
That's amazing. I think we can all agree we're going to try that. Something that I implemented a few years ago, as freelancers, we're always clocked in, 24/7, people emailing, texts. A couple of years ago, I literally, 5 p.m., I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm clocked out. That email is going to get checked in the morning, kind of thing. And it really has, maybe not made me more positive, but has given me that time to myself and my family. So I think that's great. I think journaling is great. And you brought something?
Yeah, so I think this is amazing. I'm not a morning person, so the fact that you guys all came
On a Saturday.
on a Saturday in the cold to come and spend a little time here. I actually do have a notebook of positive aspect, and it comes with a pen too, for everyone in here. Oh, perfect. And my hand assistant over here to my right. Yeah, this thing, it's one of our constants in the cheer box.
So these go in the cheer box?
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I probably get the most amount of like DMs and Facebook messages about, and people posting it. Like when I do a search on social media, it's like the most common thing. And you guys should have seen the first couple of versions of these things. They were so ugly. I was like, please, people, stop posting them. And then this lady, she was like, I think she's 80, and then she had posted this recently on her Facebook because she was messaging us asking us if she can get a new one. But I was like, oh my God, it was such an ugly version. But I love it. It really does help me calm me down, and it really does keep me in the moment.